Hello everyone, my name is Beiseyeva Kamila and now I will present you my research. The topic of my research is co-teaching and mixture of groups as approaches for teaching English in inclusive education. The aim of my research is divided into two. First is to apply mentioned two approaches like mixture of groups and co-teaching and find out the most appropriate one to develop inclusive education in our country. And the second is about the society and next generation to be more friendly and react normally to people with special needs. This topic is very important in our country because today more than 147,000 children have limited learning opportunities in our country. According to official data, today conditions have been created for inclusive education only in 15% of kindergartens and 55% of schools. Currently, the Kazakhstani government is trying to implement better quotas and help people with special educational needs to become more social, and it takes its start from schools. Thus, the best way to implement innovations is to find the most suitable approaches to educate people with special needs. If educational institutions provide high-quality education, professional and appropriate correction help, inclusive education will have a chance to become a powerful weapon of our society. And the point of it is that every family and every child deserve the same opportunity and chance. The topic of inclusive education is challenged a lot around the world. Many scientists argue about the term of inclusive education as it is very broad and complicated. There are a lot of debates about inclusive education and it's important all over the world. And it has become the main issue in educational system in many developed countries. There are a lot of definitions of inclusive education and scientists currently are debating about them because this term is very broad, and here on this slide you can see the different definitions of different scientists. Before starting this research, I find out 4 research questions, and while answering for it, I will complete my research. The first is, what is the level of development of inclusive education in our country, in Kazakhstan? Second is, which methods and approaches are currently used for teaching English in inclusive education? Third is, how co-teaching and mixture of groups can be applied in teaching English in inclusive education? And the last one is, are they appropriate and what will be the result of the usage of them? By answering these questions, we will understand what is currently used and how can we develop our inclusive education to make it more appropriate to modern society. As the main purpose of this research is finding out about the approaches and methods for inclusive education system, it was appropriate to conduct young learners with special educational needs to be a part of this research. 7 children, let's name them Group A, were invited to be a part of this research. All of them are students of 5th, 6th and 7th grades of schools of inclusive education. So there are 2 children with ASD, it's autism syndrome, 2 children with ID, which stands for intellectual disability, 1 child with CP, which stands for cerebral palsy, 1 child with AS, which is Asperger's syndrome, and 1 child with ADHD. ADHD here means the attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Other type of participants of this research are school children without any special educational needs. Let's name them Group B. They are also students of 5th, 6th, 7th grades. The common description of all children participants are that they are all school children for 5th to 7th grades. There are 4 boys and 3 girls for inclusive side and 2 boys and 3 girls from Group B. Nationalities vary from Russian, Kazakh, German, Ukrainian, but the first language for all of the participants is Russian language. Third group of participants are teachers with experience of working with children with special educational needs. because it's very important to know how to work with such kind of children, what kind of methods are used now in inclusive schools, and to know some experience of them. There were 3 research instruments. The first is experiment. Experiment includes 3 weeks teaching English session. There are 3 lessons per week in the program of 5th, 6th and 7th grades, and these 9 lessons we will implement co-teaching, and 1 lesson a week. The lesson will be conducted as mixture of groups, so the participants from group A and participants from group B will work together, and the main purpose of this is to make children more sociable. So what are co-teaching and mixture of groups? Co-teaching is when 2 teachers are present in the classroom while providing the teaching instructions. The first teaches, the second instructs or assists, in other words. So in my research, 1 teacher will be English teacher who will give the content material, and the second teacher is psychology teacher who will control the behavior and attention of children. Mixture of groups approach means that students from group A with special educational needs will attend lessons with students from group B without any special educational needs, and the practice showed that both sides can benefit from this practice. Mixture of groups research is very useful in terms of socializing students with special educational needs and growing the tolerance in students without special educational needs. Next instrument is observation. Here you can see the observation rubrics, which include the behavior of students while 3-week period. And the last one is interview. As I told before, 2 teachers who have an experience of working with students with special needs were interviewed, and they answered to questions about the level of inclusive education in Kazakhstan, what kind of methods are broadly used in English language teaching, what kind of methods do they use or used, and what points in inclusive education in Finland are suitable for our educational system, and in what ways are parents' attitude very important, and what do you think about the future of inclusive education? The findings showed that approaches like co-teaching and mixture of groups are suitable and up-to-date for our educational system. It is clearly seen by the positive results of this research, where both group students could benefit from implementation of these approaches. Here you can see the results of observation of 3 students with special educational needs, and you can see the good shift between non-interaction to interaction. So it is a good result of implementation of 2 approaches. While interviewing teachers who have an experience of working with students with special needs, we can see that current state of inclusive education can be described as developing, and according to interviews that were held during working on this project, it is realized that in Kazakhstan schools start to implement the inclusive education only in September 2018, so it's only 1.5 years ago. Currently, teachers do not know exactly how to teach and evaluate children with special needs, and it is difficult to conduct the learning process without the participation of a tutor or a psychologist. And here is example of appropriate usage of co-teaching approach. Then teachers use old-fashioned methods that do not work. Co-teaching and mixture of groups approaches are very well applicable in inclusive classes. This is also an evidence that these approaches are useful. I am satisfied with the results of this research, but I will suggest for further studying to analyze the inclusive education system of Finland and try to arrange and implement some features into Kazakhstani inclusive education system and culture. Thank you for your attention.